Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network. Oh, hi. Good morning, John Fugelsang. Hi.
Can you people please stop attacking public servant Lauren Boebert? Please. She was the person most qualified to be Speaker of the House to represent this party. She is the only one who will reach across the aisle and give out a lot of jobs.
Hey.
Oh, she's giving out jobs.
Just when we thought we were done with the Lauren Boebert jokes, there's no end.
Oh, by the way, a basement. That bar can be lowered.
Did you see, this is my favorite episode of Big Bag of Rats ever. Marjorie Taylor Greene lashed out as House Freedom Caucus members after nearly 24 voted to shoot down her attempt to censure Rashida Tlaib. Let's see. What's his name? Chip Roy. Not a putt-putt in Lubbock. He criticized Greene's feckless resolution as deeply flawed and filled with factually unverified claims. Oh, that's true. Including Greene's claim that Tlaib led an insurrection. We should not continue to perpetuate claims of insurrection at the Capitol, and we should not abuse the term now, said Roy. I agree with Chip Roy. What? Greene fumed at Roy, claiming he voted to kick me out of the Freedom Caucus, but kept CNN wannabe Ken Buck and vaping groping Lauren Boebert, and you voted with the Democrats to protect terrorist Tlaib. He shot back, go chase so-called Jewish space lasers if you want to spend time on that sort of thing. She wrote back, oh, shut up, Colonel Sanders, you're not even from Texas, more like the DMV.
What?
Anyway, it's just a fantastic bag of rats, isn't it? They're all so awful.
Almost like Lady Blah Blah has some problems with impulse control. You know, I got to say, Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene can relax. Democrats are fundraising just fine off of Trump's little Johnson as the Speaker of the House. They're doing fine. We don't need to fundraise off Lady Blah Blah anymore.
John, have we had a chance to talk about Speaker God Warrior? Because this is, some really terrifying God Warrior stuff.
I'm a God Warrior!
Right? I mean, go ahead. Your thoughts.
Well, no. I mean, where do you begin with this guy? I mean, I'm looking through his entire history to find anything resembling what Jesus taught. It's not there. He's another one of these flock-fleecing Pharisees who talks a good game, but actually legislates against the teachings of the little prop he waves around named Jesus he pretends to follow. I got to say, though, I love these guys who say that being gay is a choice that must be resisted, because I find generally guys who say that have some experience resisting it, Steph.
You, somebody tweeted, you got me, this, thus Christian soldier. That's his wife's reparative therapy? Onward something?
Yeah.
Onward, toward heterosexuality.
Sure.
Obviously.
Onward.
Yeah, that way. Right.
They chose to be gay and ostracized by their parents, yeah.
You said you like when people openly admit to rejecting what Jesus actually said. It's refreshing because sometimes
you can't be a homophobe and say you're a Jesus follower. You just can't. Jesus commands you to treat LGBT people as you would treat him. These guys all claim to follow the book of Leviticus, right? Where God allegedly says, "You shall not lie with a man as with a woman. That is an abomination." No one follows the book of Leviticus. That's the thing. They pick and choose to justify being cruel to minorities they already hate. If you follow Leviticus, you have to stone to death people who work on the Sabbath. Yeah. That's Saturday. You have to stone to death children who disrespect their parents. You have to stone to death adulterers, and that includes divorce and remarriage. So I'll let those guys work that out with Mr. Trump.
Yeah, whoops, there goes their front runner.
They don't follow the Bible.
Historical ecclesiastical fun fact John Fugelsang brings us. 20 years ago today, the U.S. Episcopal Church consecrated their first openly gay bishop, and nobody bought my reality show pitch, queer leader for the Episcopal breeder.
Ha!
I'm sorry that didn't go well for you, John, because I would have watched that. I really would have.
Oh, well, with focus groups, too. Yeah. But he was great. And again, the Episcopals are ahead of the Catholics on this. There is literally, all your listeners have to say to your homophobic Christian loved ones, please tell me the chapter of the Bible that you follow and obey that says being gay is wrong.
Yeah.
The chapter of the Bible you follow and obey that says being gay is wrong, because no one follows Leviticus. They might quote Paul in Romans, but Paul never actually condemns gay people. He's talking about forced by men that God gave over to unnatural urges to hook up with each other. It's a whole fetish community. I'm sure Mike Johnson could tell you about that. Yeah. And again, Paul also in Romans commands you to obey the governing authorities. So you have to obey Joe Biden if you're going to use Paul against gay people.
There you go. By the way, so you retweeted someone who said, how the hell does a Democratic representative explain how they voted to save George Santos' ass from getting expelled from Congress? And you said because he's of more value to the Dems if he's a drag on the GOP for the next 12 months. I mean, that's the political point, but I got to say, you know, you and I sat next to Jamie Raskin at DC Sexy Liberal, and he has, it's something we don't recognize from Republicans is principle. He's like, I'm a constitutional guy, and he hasn't been convicted yet.
I mean, this was our gripe about Al Franken. He never got due process. Right. He never actually had a real investigation. By the same token, I don't think these lawsuits trying to throw Trump off the ballot are a good idea. I don't think you fight democracy by making it harder for Americans to vote for their crappy, racist, sexually abusing candidate.
Oh, I'm by any means necessary. By any legal means necessary.
By the same morality, Trump hasn't been convicted of insurrection yet, so I don't think those cases are going to succeed. But Congressman Raskin is exactly right. George Santos hasn't even had the Ethics Committee weigh in yet on this. But on a political level, that's what I'm talking about. Why would Democrats want to get rid of this guy? He's going to be a fundraising Christmas for you. Keep George Santos in Congress, and every morning what you do as a Democrat is you grab him by the ankles and you lift his body and you smack the Republican Congress with him, because he deserves to be the face of the party, just like Matt Gaetz deserves to be the unsightly large forehead of the party. Santos is actually really good for fundraising, but more than that, they're not going to get rid of him because they only have a 5-seat lead in the House. He comes from a district on the Isle of Long where I grew up that Joe Biden won by 10 points. So they're not going to get rid of him and have a special election and have a Democrat take the job right away and bring it down to a 4-seat lead. So use it to your advantage and make every voter think George Santos when they hear Republican Party.
One of the main reasons to stay on Twitter, in my opinion, is to watch you bitch slap Republicans into the next election cycle. Someone tweeted, 40% of abortions are for people of color now. The eugenics Margaret Sanger hoped for came to fruition, and you want more. I just don't get the Bible freak abortion connection. And you said when I was a kid, right-wing people complained that black women had too many babies. Now right-wing people will complain that black women have too many abortions, but none of them have wanted to do a thing to make having a baby more affordable for low-income women.
Having an abortion is safer for a woman's health than pregnancy and childbirth. That's just a fact. And black women have higher maternal mortality rates in this country all over than white women do. So I get really angry when I see these guys saying, oh, black women have too many. What, do you want to take the right away from just black women? Why are we talking about black women? They don't care about low-income women. Yeah. Pregnancy, childbirth should be free in this country, and paid family leave should be a thing like all of our capitalist allies.
By the way,
and child care.
Tommy Tuberville is stopping hundreds of these promotions, but he wants aid to Israel, where abortions, there's taxpayer-funded abortions on demand. I mean, hypocrisy.
Free in Israel right now, but none of these frauds will call for cutting foreign aid to Israel because they need Israel for their little rapture Bible fan fiction when all the Jews die or are forced to convert to Christianity. They're all evil. Tommy Tuberville is doing what he's doing, slowing down promotions in our military. The Marine Corps still doesn't have a commandant after months because this illiterate hump who doesn't even live in Alabama thinks that women in the armed forces do not have a right over their own body. It comes down to a question of, do you think the government has the right to force American citizens to be pregnant when they don't want to be? Yeah. And there's nothing in the Bible against abortion. Let me say it again. The Bible's not against abortion. God makes it very clear in Exodus 21 that he considers the fetus to be property and a woman's life has more value in his eye. Jesus is against the death penalty. Yeah. These people haven't read the book, and we can use it against them.
Ron DeSantis, it won't surprise you, made the case for Tommy Tuberville's hold on military promotions, arguing that his fight against taxpayer-funded abortion tourism was righteous. He urged Tuberville to keep fighting. I mean,
Contempt for the armed forces. Contempt for the armed forces, as opposed to their usual contempt for women. Yep. I feel bad for Ron. He's got a hard life. It's not easy being a persecutor of transgender people while you wear high heels. So I try to be patient, but no.
Oh, he had some thoughts on it. This is him being macho?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Donald Trump and a lot of his people have been focusing on things like footwear. I'll tell you this. If Donald Trump can summon the balls to show up to the debate, I'll wear a boot on my head. This is a time for substance. This is a time for us to debate the issues that matter to the American people.
Boy, he hasn't seemed so macho since he pretended to be a fighter pilot instead of a assistant urinalysis coordinator at Gitmo.
Every time you hear that guy try to talk tough, all I hear is recalculating,
Recalculating route. Oh my God! So the House passed the bill that would provide aid to Israel, but obviously with this, making sure they can protect their billionaire tax cheat donors. It's obviously it's going to be dead on arrival in the Senate. The president has vowed he would veto it. But we played Mickey Sherrill, the Democrat who has served. Just saying to not understand that Israel's enemies are Ukraine enemies, that Hamas has met with Putin, that Iran has drones in Ukraine right now, that they've given to Russia. All this is part of a global fight for democracy and democratic priorities. It also displays a lack of understanding and how when you are fighting a counterinsurgency, you've got to make sure you're taking care of the civilians. Our generals during Iraq and Afghanistan spent an inordinate amount of time worrying about how to get power to populations, how to get food and water to populations, and so the humanitarian relief part of this package is critical as well. I was saying, you can read a different story every day, John, about either anti-Semitism or Islamophobia, and the right wing and Donald Trump has promoted both of them. Yep. I, for one, am happy that we have a president that stands up against hate of all kinds. And is I think trying to thread this needle in this horrible situation in the Middle East the best he can. What's your take on it?
I think so as well. I do think I respect that Joe Biden called for a humanitarian pause. I'd like to hear him use the word ceasefire today.
By the way, what is the difference between a pause and a ceasefire? Does anyone know? I don't. Don't know.
A ceasefire sounds official. A pause is when you're not ready to go all the way and demand a ceasefire because you're funding these guys. Look. Hamas are Nazi terrorists. They are Nazis. But Netanyahu is a criminal gangster thug. Yeah. Both the people of Palestine and the people of Israel deserve righteous, honest leadership that's committed to peace. Hamas and Netanyahu don't want peace. They both need the other to stay in power. Yeah. That's how it's been this codependent clinch of just toxic violence that they both needed. More children have now been, over 4,000 children have now been killed in Gaza. The death toll is going to top 10,000 today. There is no military solution to this. And I know my words mean nothing. Mossad's going to go into those tunnels and slaughter every Hamas warrior. I know it's going to happen. And I also know that this is the end for Netanyahu. The White House knows it too. He's not going to be around much longer. I pray that a year from now, Palestine has decent leadership committed to recognizing Israel's right to exist, and that Palestine has control of their own borders as a free and independent state, and Israel has the security and peace they deserve. It's not that complicated. They both deserve better leadership.